You need to speak like a bad person in order to achieve success and to achieve your goals and to make more money. But this only applies to you if the work that you do requires you to speak with or to persuade someone else of something, which is 95% of work, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Now, the reason I say this is because 90% of people have subtly adopted specific habits into their speech that to society and to them might seem like it's good, but in actuality, they don't realize that what they're doing is sending subconscious signals through their speech that make people respect them less and give them less authority and influence when they speak, which is directly capping the amount of success that they can achieve. You see, do I mean that you have to sound like some mustache twirling supervillain who's gonna destroy every single city in the world? No. But I'm assuming if you're the type of person that would click on a video like this, you don't want to be like 90% of people. And I say bad because it only seems like it's bad in your head. That's why I put the air quotes. You see, once you're able to change your perspective on these things that I'm about to tell you in this video and be able to implement them into your speech, you can skyrocket the amount of impact that you have behind your words and actually uncap that cap that you put on your success. Why do we even see these things that I'm about to talk about as bad in the first place? A lot of it is the way that you grew up and the influences that you had as you were younger. You see, when I was younger, I was a lot more of the textbook introvert, so I had this idea in my head that that meant that I had to be bad at speaking, and that's just not true at all, but that's what I believed. And the way that I compensated for that was by being overly nice to everyone that I spoke to. And being nice and kind is a good thing. The only thing is, when you did it to the extent that I did it, it was to the point where I became a people pleaser and that I was making it so that people couldn't actually respect me because there was nobody to respect. I didn't have anything that I stood on. I was just a chameleon in any situation. And this video is not going to be as simple as just don't be nice or stop being overly nice. But the reason why I wasn't able to get respect when I was younger, and even a little bit when I was older too, when I was starting some of my first entrepreneurial ventures, and I was trying my best to shake these beliefs and these conditionings that I had when I was younger, it's because I didn't understand these two things that I'm about to tell you here. You see, there's two things that you need to master in order to speak like the quote-unquote bad person that actually achieves the success that you want. Now, the first thing is delusional self-belief, and I put delusional in air quotes because of the different ways that it applies to different kinds of people. If you are an average person with an average level of confidence, and you try and implement this tactic into your speech and into the way that you think, your confidence is going to go from a baseline level, just a normal average level, to ridiculously over the top, stupid levels of confidence to the point where you come off as arrogant and mean and people don't like to be around you. For someone who was like younger me, like I was describing earlier, who saw himself as more introverted, shy, unconfident, the tricks and tactics that people use, that regular people use to improve their levels of confidence when they speak or just in general, it's not going to be enough because the average person will have their confidence at a baseline here, and then they'll do these tactics and they'll bring it down to like, or up to like here. The thing is, if you're all the way down here like I was, and you try and use those same tactics and you just bring it up a little bit, you're still way below what the baseline should be. So the way that I fixed this in my own life was by using delusional self-belief in my speech. So what does that actually look like? It's in the way that you think and in the way that you talk. So I started out by essentially thinking thoughts that to other people would come off as incredibly arrogant. Because a lot of the time, these thoughts that you might see as arrogant are really just self-confident. And yes, you don't have to always articulate these word for word in your speech, but it should be the underlying thoughts that are driving the speech that you have. So I might think something that if I said it out loud, it might seem incredibly arrogant, right? But when I speak it, it doesn't come off that way, but it still comes off as confident. So for example, if I was recording a YouTube video, say I was a YouTuber who was trying to teach boxing skills to people, And I had this belief in my head that, you know, I'm like an okay teacher. I'm fine. Humble beliefs. That's good. That's seen as good by society. It's good to be humble. The thing is, if I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm like, alright. I'm not like the best teacher. That's gonna show in my speech. I'm gonna be in these videos and I'll say something like, you need to have your form when you punch be like this, but that's just my opinion. Or I'll say something like, oh, well, it might work for you, but it might not work for someone else. You know, try it on your own. You would say things like that because you don't have that belief. But if I thought in my head, yeah, I might not be the best teacher for everybody, but I know for the people that I'm speaking to, the specific type of person that I'm looking at, this is going to be the best training that they could get. I'm the single best person to help this person. And I think that in my head, I'm gonna have a lot more conviction behind my words. I'm gonna be able to cut out any things and any words that make it so that I'm undermining my authority when I speak. And even when I do make mistakes, it's not even going to be that big of a deal. You need to think more of these arrogant thoughts when you speak. And it sounds bad to say that out loud. The thing is, it only sounds bad because humility is something that is a good thing. And it is a good thing to be humble. The thing is, if you're humble, but you're not even good at what you do because you're having these humble thoughts, it doesn't mean as much as if you're actually really good and you genuinely believe that you're good, but you act humble anyway. Do you see what I'm getting at here? So again, if you're someone who's very, very, very confident when you speak, this is probably something that's gonna make you seem like a really bad person. So you might not actually want to do this. But if you're someone who is like how I used to be, then this is something that you will absolutely benefit from. Even if you end up going a little bit too high and people go like, hey, calm down, you can bring it down a little bit. But it's gonna help you so much more than using the regular confidence tactics that people say. Like, oh, just take a deep breath. That's only gonna bring it too loud here. So how does this show in your speech? This is going to be with speaking with more conviction. I talked about this in my last video. So the ways that you show more conviction is using more convicting language. Cutting out things like, oh, I think, maybe, and actually saying things as absolute fact because you know it to be true. Not because you're lying, but because you know in your heart that it's true. And when you know in your heart that it's true, then you can actually communicate it in a way that makes it seem like you believe what you're saying. You'll show a lot more emotion in your words because you know that it's true. Another way that this helps you is that if you're someone who's struggling with anxiety before a call or before a video that you have to record or before a big speech that you have to give, having this kind of belief about yourself shows that you can trust yourself. So you'll be on, say you're about to go on a coaching call and you're like, oh no, I'm nervous that it might not go well if I go and coach this person. But instead of thinking that, you know, no, I'm the best person to help this person. You have those quote unquote arrogant thoughts. And it's gonna bleed into your speech and it's gonna bleed into your demeanor and your body language when you're speaking in that situation. Now, this is just a small piece of the puzzle for improving your communication. So if you're an entrepreneur or content creator who's looking to overcome the specific speaking habits that are capping your income and develop your own unique style of speaking that resonates with your ideal clients or viewer, then click the top link in the description to book a call to work with me personally. Now, anyway, the next thing that you need to understand in your speech is what I like to call radical authenticity. So what exactly is that? Why should you care? Why is it important to you? And why do people even think that it's bad in the first place? You see, if you went up to someone on the street and asked them if authenticity is a good or a bad thing, they would say good, obviously. It's a great thing to be authentic. The only thing is, that's not the way that people actually act. People don't actually think in their heads that being authentic is good. Otherwise, people wouldn't be putting on faces for people. People wouldn't be lying. You see, the thing is, for someone like me, I'll use myself as an example because that's the most definitive example that I can use. When I was younger, I used to be the ultimate people pleaser and I wasn't authentic at all. Sometimes I was, but in other situations where maybe there was someone that I was trying to impress, or maybe it was a little bit more of a high-stakes situation, I wouldn't own who I was, and I would change my beliefs and my opinions depending on the context that I was in. One situation, I say that I like this thing, other person I'm speaking to here doesn't like it, oh, I actually don't like it now. And this is a bit of a simplistic example because that was me when I was a lot younger. But what ways in your life are you not being fully authentic? Think about it, because there's definitely times, especially in those more higher stakes situations. For example, if you're a business owner and a client says something and you don't want to disagree with them because you think it might ruffle feathers. The thing is, when you show more authenticity, people will respect you more, and then on top of that, you will find who you're actually compatible with. Because when you're radically authentic, and fully in line with who you are and your beliefs, the people who agree with you will be way more compatible with you because you're showing them that version. And then the people who disagree with you will either, three things. One, you'll either be able to cut them off because at that point you're not even compatible anyway. Why are you still trying to be with these people in the first place? Two, you either have a very meaningful and interesting conversation with them because you can talk about those disagreements. And it makes for a much more fun and engaging conversation, and they'll respect you more. Three, you get a different perspective. So they'll give you their disagreement, and then you can actually look at that and go like, why do I actually think this? And then depending on what they've said, you can either change your opinion or you can stand firm, depending on the context and depending on whether you see it's fit. Not doing it out of anxiety because you're afraid of starting conflict or having an issue. You're doing it because it's what you genuinely believe. When you speak in a way that actually welcomes disagreement instead of hiding from it, you open yourself up to those positive benefits of disagreement, being able to either cut off people that you don't need to be with, or you get a new perspective, or you have a great conversation. When you do that, you have so many more opportunities than you otherwise would have if you were just trying to please everybody. When you please everybody, or try to please everybody, you please nobody. Now you might hear this and go like, okay, this is cool, but how does this actually help me in my success? And the way that it does is you end up finding the people that really resonate with you. And when people either really resonate with you or they really don't, then they can choose whether or not to buy from you, whether or not to listen to you, or whether or not to watch your stuff, or whatever situation applies to you. Because when you're in this weird gray area where people can't actually agree or disagree with you, there's nothing for them to connect with. People connect to something that they either disagree with really heavily or agree with really heavily. Never anything in between. Speaking like that, speaking in a way that's radically authentic, where your view of the world is what you truly believe and you make that clear, people can't help but to be drawn to that. And people will support you, and people will be diehard supporters of you, compared to just being a lukewarm follower of you. And now this doesn't mean that you can't have different layers to your personality. You see, it's normal for you to put on different faces for different people. It's a normal thing. I'm not going to speak to my mom the same way I speak here or the same way that I speak to my best friend. But when you have different layers of your personality, those are all authentic, assuming that you're not trying to be something that you're not. It's when you put on a different version of yourself that's not you, or say something that's absolutely not something that you believe, that's when you're actually creating problems for yourself. So when you implement these bad qualities into your speech, delusional self-belief, and radical authenticity, people will connect with you a whole lot more, and they'll be a lot more willing to listen to you. And when you have people's attention and they listen to you, then you can have real influence that actually translates into success. Outside of that, that's all that I have, so I hope this was helpful. If you want more help improving your speaking skills, especially more technical parts of it, since this was a bit more of a big picture video, click this right here. And then if you want to work with me one-on-one, click the top link in the description to book a free call with me. Outside of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And remember, you're probably a lot better at speaking than you think that you are, so don't overthink it. Have a good one.